Hey everyone, it is Nicole, your favorite expat and wellness coach. And I help Black and brown women move to Asia and build their amazing, rich life. I talk a lot about community, well-being, and shmoney, so that you can have these tools, and everything is always without romanticizing it. And today I just want to tell you, Asia isn't cheap. Now, listen, it is definitely cheaper than back home, right? Cost wise. I'm from New York, right? But I'm here to remind you that there is definitely a difference between cheap and living well. And I know that if you are following my channel, you are not leaving your country to not live well. Like you're not trying to move somewhere and be on the struggle bus. No, you're not. So I'm going to give you some things to look for. I'm going to even give you um some numbers based on my experience living in Thailand, currently living in Hong Kong, just so you have some numbers. Now remember that numbers are the numbers I'm giving you are my numbers, but I just want you to start thinking about the fact that when you move, you want to live well. So I'm going to go through my notes as always, because this is what we do. So I want you to know that living well on this channel, I'm not talking about backpacking, okay? What I'm talking about is a safe area, a clean space, AC that works, good sleep, good food, and a life. Okay. And that also might mean also extra amenities. Like I'm talking about maybe a gym, maybe some type of cleaning service, um, having people that speak English. And I'm saying this not from a pretentious place, but when you move to a foreign country, oftentimes when you're in certain spaces, they will have people there who can speak English, who can communicate with you. And generally, those are in the places that may cost more money. Okay, so this is not coming from a pretentious space. So, firstly, I'm just going to talk about three different buckets. So, these are the three buckets. The one is fixed costs, okay? So, fixed costs could be rent, utilities, phone, and Wi-Fi. Now, and then the next one is lifestyle costs, which can be coffee shop, food, transport, a gym, and social life. And the third one is adult costs, right? Which is healthcare, visas, flights home, deposits, and emergencies. Okay. Most people budget for one and two. And then all of a sudden, bucket three punches them in the face. If you've been watching my videos, I've shared, I've definitely seen GoFundMe's for like people needing to go back home. I don't want that for you. If you're following my channel, I'm giving you all the tools to have your rich life in Asia so that you will never have to think about, like, oh my gosh, I didn't consider this. Okay, we're not into scarcity mindset here. We're in possibilities, we're in abundance, and we're in rich life. Like if you're here, that is what you are for, and doing it in Asia. Now, let's just talk about the rent, okay? And let's just talk about the truth. So I'll just give myself as an example. I live in Hong Kong. Yes, it is one of the more expensive places to live. So that's off the bat. But I am paying right now 17,800 Hong Kong dollars. And guess what? That is not even the most expensive type of rent, okay? I do live in an area that would be, if you're from New York, it's like a value very much like a Williamsburg. If you've been in Thailand, um, maybe like a Saturn slash Ari, but it is a place that has coffee shops, Western dining, um, I just went outside and there was a Porsche outside. So just giving you a little bit of context. Okay, and this is like I would almost say mid if I had to be honest. Still very nice, but this is mid. Okay. When I lived in Thailand, I was paying 17,000 baht, which is funny. Maybe the 17,000 is a thing and I didn't even think about it. 17,000 baht in Thailand. And of course, baht is different than Hong Kong dollars, right? It's about the equivalent of 580 USD. And the reason why I got that deal was because it was right after COVID. It was right after COVID, and a lot of people were leaving Thailand. So there was so many empty apartments. But that area, my apartment was huge. Now, when I look at apartments in that area, is starting at 23,000 baht. Okay. So I value well-being and wellness. That area also had coffee shops, very similar theme. Coffee shops, it had a Western supermarket, very important for me because I have a gluten allergy and a peanut allergy, you know? So I had to make sure that I had stores and areas near me that I can eat with my allergies, or even if I just miss certain comforts of the US. So and my apartment, both the places, I'm a quick walk and skip to the MTR. I'm not like hiking through the mountains to find the MTR. I'm not hiking to the mountains to get on the bus. They're right outside. Now, remember, we're talking about living your best rich life. So those are the costs that you're going to have. And I'm just giving you like an example. So I really want you to think about that. So are there places that are cheaper that cost less here? Absolutely. But it's probably going to be a walk up. It's probably not going to be close to an MTR. If it's close to an MTR, probably going to be in an area that is very maybe overpopulated or densely populated. It's probably going to be in an area where it's going to be so loud. And for me, I'm not going to have peace and quiet. It's probably not going to be convenient. So your housing costs and your housing choice usually decides whether Asia feels cheap or expensive. And as I said, I'm not even giving examples of like the highest. And you know, this is kind of a segue. When you start hanging out with other people in the country you're staying in and you see how they're living, you start to see that there's so many different possibilities. And because, as I said, this channel is about your rich life and possibilities, I want that for you when you go to another country. You don't need to leave your country to be on the struggle bus. Not here. Now, lifestyle costs. This is where cheap also disappears. Now, groceries. Now, of course, if you are buying things that are local, it is going to be cheaper than if you are buying things that are imported. Now, of course, if you are moving to Thailand and I'm helping you with that, you will definitely benefit because you have a lot of fruits and vegetables that are local, which won't cost you a lot. Lots of markets, which I always took advantage of in Thailand. But if you're in Hong Kong, for example, majority of the things here are imports and are not local. So even fruits may start to feel like they're pricey. Now, also, you think that you have to think about is if you're like me and you're like gluten free or you have a special allergy, more than likely the thing that you're going to have to purchase is going to be something from the States. It's probably not going to be in that country. So that means that if it is in the country, it's going to be really expensive. Okay. You probably, and when I say expensive, it's usually like maybe double to sometimes triple the price of what you would pay back home. Okay. So that's the cost. Eating out. If you're in Thailand, unless you are eating on the street every single day, which I know no one's ever doing that, it does start to add up. Like I don't, for me personally, like, and if you're watching and you have a food allergy, then you're going to be even more conscious about whether or not you choose to eat street food. I seldom eat street food ever since having my allergies, just because I don't know. Sometimes that oil or whatever they're using, it's been there for so many days, and I just don't think it's worth the risk. Okay. And then eating out, even sometimes local cuisines, sometimes even local cuisines can be very pricey. But of course, you just have to find, and that takes time. Next, transport definitely can be very affordable. Unless you are taking Ubers, if you're taking Grabs and you're doing them all the time, then it definitely adds up. And the thing that you have to remind yourself is that just because you move to a foreign country, you can't just always convert it back to your USD and say, oh, it's cheap. Because if you're trying to spend like a local, you can't think in like US. Because if you do that, if your purpose is to live a rich life and to still have a good chunk of saving, you will easily blow that money. So like and that sometimes you won't even recognize it. You just realize you're spending money. So I wouldn't want you to, go through that if you don't need to. Of course, gym and wellness. And I feel like this is probably true everywhere, right? If you are going to Pilates, if you are doing 24/7 fitness, if you're doing what is it? The other one with 45. Of course, we promote wellness and well-being here, but just remember that that is also a cost. Unless you are in Thailand and you do the Go Wabi app, or you are getting one of those apps where you get like the first month free, and even still it does add up. But I want you to think about it like so that you put money aside, not that you not give yourself that, but I want you to think about this. Many of these companies generally are like foreign owned, or they are more premier, and then if they do cater to expats, then generally they keep that in consideration. So the prices is maybe similar to what we would pay back home. Similar, maybe not always exact, but these things add up. And I want you to think about that. Even if you're there for 6 months, it's still 6 months. And then, of course, this is like my favorite one, right? Is the treat yourself tax, right? Like, how are you not going to live in Thailand and not go and get a massage like every day? Of course, right? And then when you start seeing those amazing, beautiful spas, you're like, wait, you might want to have some that's on the local street that you see, but then you're going to want to go to a spa. So these things definitely add up. Or if you want to go get a manicure, as you can see, your girl needs one, right? Or you want to get your eyebrows done, like these things add up. So, of course, Asia is affordable when you are living and doing everything locally, but it gets pricey the moment you start to recreate your old life. And when I say recreate your old life, is essentially doing the things you did in the country that you just left. Like, that's just what happens. And I want you to be able to add and do the things that you were doing in your country. I just don't want you to be under this false pretense that, like, oh, Asia is cheap. Yeah, if you're doing everything locally, okay. And then there's like adult life stuff. There's visas, renewals, document runs. So depending on if you're someone that's in the country for 30 days versus maybe staying in the country, okay, that will depend. You want to have money for that. Healthcare. So if you are moving abroad and let's say you're not going with a job, you want to have your visits, your doctor visits. And what I find and what I did, as many foreigners, most of us generally prefer going to the hospitals where the doctors speak English. Generally, the hospitals that cater to Western folks are more expensive. And now, once again, it's not going to be expensive as the US, but you still have to pay that in cash, right? So making sure that you have that money. And if you are going there for treatment, because so many people travel now, right? Travel tour, excuse me, medical tourism is still a thing. So people do decide to spend their money in those ways. So you want to make sure you have the funds. In addition to flights home, having money in case of an emergency, Asia to US, that's a long flight. And it's also not a quick and cheap flight. And I'm just talking about economy. I'm not even talking about premium economy. I'm not even talking about business class. I'm not even talking about first class. So if you want to live your best rich life, those are some of the things you need to think about. In addition to, replacement costs, if something happens with your laptop, your glasses, dental, and then of course, settling costs. You've heard me discuss like setting up my apartment. I'm here for 1 month. I'm in my apartment, for 3 weeks, and I'm still not 100% complete setting things up. And I understand it takes time, but it also costs money. So, like having bedding, work clothes, adapters, setup. Okay. And then you also want to have an emergency buffer. So, living abroad is not just a monthly budget, it's a life budget. And I just really want to prepare you for living a full life, a full, rich life. Okay, so this is also the reason why, think Asia could like not be cheap. If you choose to live in expat heavy areas, okay, wanting walkability and convenience. So if you're not trying to be in like, up the hill around the corner and you want to be able to jump quickly on the bus, the train, that's going to add things up. Also, Western groceries and Western nightlife, it adds up. And I would also just add dating and social lives, it also adds up. So I know dating is not free. It's basically a subscription if you're living my life. um, so yeah, so I see it as there's three different ways to live abroad, right? So there's one that's survival, which you can do it, but it's tight. There's comfortable and living well, which it's where most people I feel want to be. And then there's lush, right? This is like I'm just outside every day, like you don't really care. And for me, and my goal is to help you is that it's not to be cheap. My goal is that you are living well. My goal is that you are stable. My goal is that you are definitely living your best rich life in Asia, a full one, not one that we romanticize. So if you want Asia to feel calm, you need a whole life setup, money, well-being, and community, and not vibes. I'm working on a free 7-step starter plan to help you map it. So please comment. And then as soon as I have it, I will send it to you. And I have a question. What did you assume would be the cheap thing in Asia? Do you think it was rent, food, a daily life, or maybe something else? Please feel free. Please comment, talk to me. It's been a pleasure.